You may notice that you've reached a culmination point. You've gone through some reflection, maybe some reckoning. You've had to really take a deep look at whether or not the life that you are leading is aligned with the life that you claim you want to live. If that feels true for you, you're right on time. Hey everybody, I'm Mystic Brew, founder of Return to Self, where I help you remember who you were before the world taught you who to be. Very good. And this is Hot Girl Math, where we solve energetic equations. If you've been following along with this series, then you know that the last couple of episodes have aligned with the major arcana cards. And for the 21st episode, we are here at the end of a journey with the world. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about the world in tarot is that you finally reached this destination where everything is perfect. It creates this sometimes false idea that you finally figured it out. But that's not exactly what the world card is all about. The world card isn't about perfection because perfection doesn't exist. It's about completion. It's the feeling of looking back at an old version of yourself and realizing, I'm never going to be quite that version of myself again. Not because they're gone, but because you've integrated everything that they came here to learn. As I mentioned in the previous episode with Judgment, Judgment precedes the final card of the major arcana in tarot, which is the World card. And this, again, is a sequence of major sort of destination points on your spiritual awakening journey. So if the tarot tells the story of the soul's journey to awakening, then the World card represents the completion of one chapter before another one begins. It's the end of a cycle. It's like a graduation, an initiation, a moment where your experience becomes embodied wisdom. And the beautiful thing about the world is it reminds us that this journey is not linear. Things don't just stop after this point. It's cyclical. It begins again with the Fool, with understanding that there's a leap of faith now that is being asked of you given what you now know. And so a new cycle begins. Because as we know, we never stop growing, we never stop learning, and we never stop moving through this journey. So with every ending comes a new beginning. When the World card comes up in a reading, it's usually asking what chapter of your life is coming to a close. Where is there completion that's happening? Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a career, maybe it's a version of yourself that you've quietly outgrown. And sometimes it's hard to tell because the external circumstances may not have changed quite yet, but internally, you know that something has shifted. And because of that, the old identity that you may be familiar with, comfortable with, and know well just doesn't quite fit anymore. Now, here's the part that some people miss or forget. Even if it's a great shift, it's not always comfortable. And that's because endings, even if they're really beautiful ones, require grief. It's easy to forget that because a lot of us have positioned grief to look like one thing. But the truth is we are constantly grieving because we're constantly changing. And we can spend so much time looking towards the next chapter, the next thing, and focusing on the future that we forget to honor the one that's coming to an end now. Ooh, confirmation burp for somebody. It's a very bittersweet time because the world reminds us that closure isn't always something that someone can give to you. In fact, oftentimes, no one can give you the closure that you need because it's something that you give yourself. And the most profound closure, more often than not, is simply recognizing I've become someone new. And that's enough. I've been reflecting a lot personally on the cycles of my life lately, on the people, the places, the identities, the beliefs, the habits, the relationships, everything that has led me to this point. Some of them are staying with me, some of them are not, but they all came together to shape who I am today. And maybe that's the real gift of the world. Not that every story has a happy ending, but that every experience has the potential to become part of your story that led you to wholeness. When I've been thinking back about what's been shifting for me lately, and maybe you resonate with this, there's a lot of old and yet very comfortable identities that are coming up for review, simply to ask, hey, are you sure that this is who you are? Or is this who you had to become at a certain point? If you follow my work, you know I focus on the shadow a lot, and I don't do it for shits and giggles. I focus on the shadow because my shadow work journey has been so intense and yet profound. Everything that I do and everything that I share, and the reason that I'm so passionate about this work is because I was my biggest case study and continue to be. This is work that I've implemented on my personal journey for the last 10 plus years. It's been a long, long road that has led me to really beautiful experiences, not just about myself, but about the way that I am the problem. And that's usually the case. You know, it's so easy to point the finger, and it's not to dismiss that there are other factors at play that can really create hardship in your life. And there's a moment of radical honesty and accountability that comes into play. And I know that a theme for me personally that's been coming up a lot lately is commitment. And it's funny because I would have always considered myself a very committed person, but I was looking at it through a specific lens. I was quick to commit when it was something that I was afraid of losing. But when it was something that was asking me to show up in a way where I had to dismantle the beliefs that kept me playing small, I was afraid to commit. And that, more often than not, for me, was in feeling safe in my environment and with my business. Some of you have been following me on this journey for years now, and I really appreciate it because I know it's been a little topsy-turvy, a little tumultuous. This journey, entrepreneurship, being, a self-employed woman, immigrant woman who did not grow up with the level of support that would really sort of pave a path for me, wanting to do something I didn't see other people doing something quite unconventional, and not having the level of resources that other people may have to really get going. I really had to spearhead this with my own ambition and stubbornness, honestly, and I'm grateful for it. People talk shit about being stubborn, but if I wasn't stubborn, I would have given up a long time ago. And I've tried. If we're being honest, I've wanted to give up so many times. I have wanted and wished if I could just get a regular schmegular job and be happy with it. But the truth is, I would never be fulfilled. I think when you are someone who has an anointing, like a special calling, or at the very least, you know that you're meant for something great. You know that you are being positioned constantly in order to create a legacy of some kind, which I know it's like pressure, hello. That ringing, that poking never goes away. At least in my experience, it never goes away. So even when I attempt to play small, when I attempt to convince myself that I am just doing this for X, Y, and Z reason, it's not actually what I want, maybe it's not for me, maybe I need it. That doesn't last long. I'll tell you that right now. And again, when I look back in hindsight on my journey, it's like I can see the through line. But I have recently come to a point where I am receiving the support and the help that I have prayed for. I am receiving the guidance that I asked God to give me because I was so tired of trying to figure everything out on my own. I was so tired of feeling like I didn't have the help that I needed. I was like, God, please, like, I need someone who knows the things that I don't to help me put this together, to help me really share what I want to contribute to this world. And that finally came. And when it did, you would think that I'd be like, yay, here we go. Yeah. See, the shadow, the good old shadow is sneaky. And what happened instead was there was a high of like, oh my gosh, I asked for this. And then immediate panic. I was hit with so much anxiety and doubt and fear and everything that was like, oh shit, like now I'm questioning everything. Now I'm questioning my path. I'm questioning if this is all a delusion. I'm questioning if I am just continuously striving for something that's not meant for me. I'm continuously asking if I'm just making shit up in my head, making things harder than they need to be, moving towards a goal that's not for me, ignoring other dreams that I would like, because I'm someone who can be scattered. Part of my hardship is I'm such a passionate woman, especially when it comes to creativity. Like I want to dibble dabble in everything, like I want to write books. I want to write movies. I want to write TV shows. I want to host. I want to do speaking engagements. I want to model. I want to perform. I want to do shows. There's very little that I'm not interested in experiencing. And I think part of that is just because I recognize that I am, and it took me a long time to get here. I recognize that I'm pretty good at a lot of things. It's the truth. It's the truth. I'm pretty good at a lot of things. And for a long time, even people who would try to help me would be like, you're so good at this. Why don't you just do this? And it's like, I'm good at a lot of things, so that doesn't help me. It can sound kind of strange because it's like, oh, okay, shit, she's good at a lot of things. What a hard thing to deal with. It is. It is. Because now you have options. And when you have options, it's harder to make a decision. Because it feels like if you choose one, you're rejecting everything else. And how do you know that this is the thing that's going to give you fulfillment? How do you know? And the craziest part with all of this, as I'm reflecting on this, is, and this is the hot girl math, is no wonder I kept attracting non-committal men. Hello? There you go. I always say that there is something energetically that's being reflected back at you with the people that you attract. And for me, I kept attracting non-committal men. And it did not make sense to me because, again, in my mind, I'm like, I'm the most committed person. Like, let's lock this down. I'm in it to win it. I don't like to date multiple people. It's just not for me. I like to focus my energy on one thing and watch it grow in relationships. But I then started to see, as I mentioned, okay, that energy is in me. It's alive in me. They are reflecting something about me that I am failing to acknowledge and notice because I'm trying to see it from a 1-to-1 ratio. Oh, you won't commit to me, but I would commit to you. That's not what it is. You have non-committal energy when it comes to focusing on a partner that you can build a life with. I have non-committal energy when it comes to my creations and the legacy that I leave with my career and my work and contribution to this world. And the reasoning, the fear is actually quite similar for everything I just stated. For whatever reason, whether it's how do I know that this is going to work? How do I know this will give me fulfillment? How do I know that you're the right person? How do I know that I can show up and be the person I need to be in order for this to grow and be healthy? It's the same fears because that's what I was dealing with when I was hit with all that freaking doubt about really going all in. Now that I have someone who is reflecting back at me, my shadow, because I can't use the same excuses anymore. I can't say, well, I don't have the support and I don't have the help and I don't have the guidance. I do. Those excuses have now been moved out. Okay, you said you needed guidance. Boom, here you go. So now I'm facing my shadow because the excuses aren't going to work anymore. I have the guidance, I have the support, I have the resources, but they're asking me to show up in a way I've never shown up before. And part of that version of myself that's being asked to show up is a person who is committed to the promise of what I'm trying to build, which means there's a level of responsibility that is now being asked of me. Prior to this, it was easy to tell myself, I am going after it. I am doing what I'm being asked to do because I'm posting content and I'm recording these videos weekly and I'm doing my Substack newsletters and I'll host a workshop once in a while. But to really create a firm foundation of what I'm trying to build and then show up in that way and be able to offer you guys a succinct, cohesive package of what it is I'm doing here. And not even just that, but 10 steps back, me figuring out what is it that I'm contributing here? What is it that I'm offering the world? And am I willing to own it? Am I willing to honor and embrace the authority, the responsibility, the maturity, the discipline that comes with bringing this to life in a way that can actually show me whether or not this is even it? And that's the other thing. Of course, there's fear of missing out. Of course, there's going to be questions of, is this what it is? Like, is this for me? I think that's a very natural thing. We question things, especially the things that are actually the thing that we would want. Because at least for me, I'm not going to speak for you, but for me, I got so used to proving myself. I got so used to the energy of wanting, desiring, that actually having the thing, holding the thing, was really scary. Because who is she now? Who do I have to be to hold this? And not just hold it, but nurture it, take care of it, protect it, sustain it over time. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine last night about it because our journeys are quite similar. They're very parallel. So she understands this energy, and she's also an entrepreneur, and she's done some beautiful things with her business. And we were talking about it, and I was like, it feels like I'm birthing a child. And that child is a reminder that you can't just decide when to show up anymore. You're going to have to be consistent. You're going to have to show up and be responsible for this thing that you are now birthing, because it's going to ask you to show up, be consistent, and be responsible for it. Otherwise, it won't grow. And if that's the case, then that's what it is. And you've decided, that's what it is. I'm not willing to show up. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to show up for myself. I'm not going to show up for you. I'm not going to show up for my business. And it is what it is. But deep down, I know that's not me. That's an old version of me that was operating out of fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of being seen, fear of being not good enough, fear of failure, fear of whatever fucking fear. There's so many fucking fears. Like, we could sit here all day and come up with shit why not to do something. The most important thing is, if all of that shit was true and important enough to not do it, then why are you still doing this? Why am I still doing this? For the last 10 years, I have spoken about love, about relationships, about personal development, about spiritual growth, about soul growth, about remembering who you were before the world taught you who to be, which then starts with, well, then what did the world teach you? And then it goes into, well, is that aligned with who you know you are? Do you know who you are? I have a deep passion for that, because there is, okay, we're getting emotional. I told you it requires grief. And I am grieving the version of me who got me here, because there's reverence for that. I trusted her. She protected me. She's the version of me I know the best. And now it's like I feel like I have to let her go and really step into this next chapter. And even though I know it's beautiful and I'm ready for it, it's still scary. And this is a dream that is beyond, wanting to feel important or wanting to create something that outlives me or wanting to make anyone proud. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of the woman I've become. And the reason I'm so passionate about this work is because I've always wanted to be who I needed. And I feel like I did that. And as someone who is constantly misunderstood and projected on and misperceived and put in a position to where I felt so confined by the limitations of either my mind, my beliefs, or the environment that I was told is meant to help me, but was not created for people like me. It's important to me to create spaces for people like me. And the truth is, no matter what I fucking do, I'm going to be talking about this. Like, if you've ever seen me out in the wild, I'm on the couch talking to someone about your fucking astrology and what it means and your soul and your growth and connecting the dots and your patterns. Like, this isn't a job. This is my purpose. And again, even though it's like such a beautiful transition, because I know in the depth of my being and in my bones that this next chapter is going to be the culmination of everything that I have been working towards and everything I have sacrificed and all of the pain and the heartache and the frustration and the overwhelm and the amount of fighting for the chance to just be who I know I am and not be who I felt like I was told I had to be, or the illusions that I accepted as truth because I didn't know better, or the relationships that I thought were the best I would probably ever get. And I was like, well, I guess I either have to settle or be alone. It's like, none of that is true. I know this next chapter is going to show me the fruits of my labor, and I am excited for it. And it is requiring me to commit to myself, to my craft, to my gifts, to my mark on this world in a way that is challenging everything that has convinced me to play small. Like, who am I to take up all this space? I'm Bruna. It's no coincidence that this is all happening as Jupiter is moving through my 8th house. Intimacy, shared resources, the shadow, power, control, manipulation. Jupiter dipped his toe into that house and said, boop, let's take a look at everything that is getting in the way right now. Because again, I know that I'm capable. And I know that the only thing that is standing in my way is the version of me that is scared of experiencing a life that is different than what I have become accustomed to, even if that life is what I've been praying for. And this is, like I mentioned, from the world back to the beginning with the fool. I'm being asked to take a leap of faith, and that leap of faith will usher me into a new journey. That leap of faith is asking, are you finally ready to experience a different story? Are you finally ready to no longer choose the familiar hell that you have become comfortable with because you know who to be there? You learned how to survive it. You learned how to defend yourself. You learned how to move in that environment. But I'm trying to take you to where you actually want to be that doesn't require you to be that person, because that was never actually you. That was who you had to be in order to survive there. What happens when you don't have to survive anymore? What happens when you can actually just be yourself? And not just feel safe doing that, but be celebrated, be acknowledged, be compensated, experience the abundance of all kinds that comes with you being authentically who you are, and the measure of the gift that you have to share. What happens when you allow yourself to receive everything that is coming towards you, instead of always feeling like you have to fight for the bare minimum. The worth wounds will come up with that one. So, with that said, in a way, this experience again gives me a level of understanding and compassion for the men that I have dealt with, because it's so easy to see things from your own perspective and to be like, man, what the fuck? Like, let's just lock it down. Let's do it. Let's do the thing. We both know what it is. But when you are given a moment to be put in the position that allows you the experience of what someone else might be experiencing, even if it's a different circumstance, but it's the same energy signature, that is the expansion that allows you to grow your compassion, grow your awareness, grow your perception. We all need it. And so as I move through this journey of realizing my fears within commitment, within actually feeling safe enough to invest, to stake a claim in what it is I want, in focusing and investing in one path, one journey, one direction. And I see all the things, all the shadows that start peeking up. Of course that's happening with them. Of course that's happening, even if it's something that you know you want, even if it's something you know that's good for you. We're complex people, you know? We do shit sometimes, doesn't make sense, but that's the journey. And so, if the energy of the World card has found you at this time, you're being asked, what part of your life has quietly come full circle? Not about what still needs fixing, what's missing, or even what's next, but what have you actually completed? And so maybe that's actually what's going on with this energy right now, not focusing on the next destination or where we're moving towards, but to really just take a second to sit down and honor everything that brought us here. All of the moments, the experiences, the people, the teachers, the lessons, the blessings, the revelations, the epiphanies, the growing pains, everything that has led you to this moment of completion, of growth. This feels like the moment when all the growing has been happening underground, and now it's about to finally sprout above ground and see the sun for the first time in a long time. As beautiful as that can be, There is a level of fear that can arise, and that's okay, because the fear is natural, but it only has power if you give it to it. I think a lot of us have been working underground for a really long time. We have worked in the shadows, in the dark, really nurturing and nourishing our roots, our foundations, the deepest parts of us. And now we're finally about to sprout. We're finally going to see the sun again above ground. And we may not know what blooming looks like. And we may have gotten comfortable being underground and hidden. But that was never where we were supposed to end up. So again, if you find yourself in a similar position, remember that you were made for this. You've been working towards this. So when life offers you that invitation, that door that's opening for you, don't second guess it. Don't doubt it. Walk through it and own it. Thank you guys so much for your time and for sitting with me while I get all emotional and snotty over here. Given that this is the world, which is completion, this is going to be the last episode for a little bit, not saying forever, but I am going to take a little hiatus for the summer as I regroup and figure out what the next iteration of Hot Girl Math looks like. So until next time,